My name is Andre Smith. I'm a student at Hunter College, and this is the community management panel. We have Adam Baugh, marketing community specialist at Anbox, Camille Catala, associate community manager at Wildlife Studios,
Close enough.
Libby Kamen, CMO at Radiance Media and team manager at Team Kitty, and Tamara Hughes, trust and safety team lead at Rec Room. I guess we'll just start off with a broad question. No order, but you guys just want to just a quick bio, just kind of who you are, how you got here. Whoever wants to go first.
I don't mind. I don't mind going.
Go ahead.
Okay, so I'm Camille. I'm from South Florida originally, and I attended Florida State University. And then there I studied media communications and English and a film studies minor. And then when I was there, I did a few internships and everything from like social media, just communications, to editing. And after that, I worked in advertising as a social media content creator. And then now I'm currently at Wildlife Studios as an associate community manager. So yeah.
Cool.
All right. I'll go next, I guess. So my academic background, I went to Clarkson University for communications and digital media. I did my master's in marketing for technology at Worcester Polytechnic, WPI. Originally thought I was going to be in engineering technical communications. And I, in graduate school, was freelancing for content creators as sort of their video editor, their social media person, kind of across the bubble of what someone might need. And I kind of realized I could do that as a job. It exists. So my in-industry experience started at a company called New Blue FX, which makes TV graphics solutions. I was the marketing manager for Overstream, which is a streamer-specific tool. I've spent some time at SteelSeries as well as at Congregate as social media, streaming, and community managers. I currently manage an all-women's broadcaster team on Twitch. I also co-founded and serve as chief marketing officer for Radiance Media, which is an agency that focuses on marketing campaigns in gaming and live streaming. And I have a fun role announcement coming soon that makes more sense for this panel. But my background is in traditional marketing as well as community and social.
All right, I guess I'll just go next. So what's up, everyone? My name's Adam. I actually was born and raised in New Jersey, and I went to Rutgers University, where I actually majored in exercise science and sports studies. I was actually trying to be a good Asian son, become a physical therapist. Fortunately, while I was there, then that did not exactly plan out. I helped co-found Rutgers Esports, which is the collegiate esports organization at Rutgers University. Had a great time, had an amazing team. We did a lot of fun. I felt like we did some really good work. And by the time I graduated, I was fortunate that opportunities in the actual esports industry had opened themselves up. Fortunately, those people felt like I had the necessary skills, and soon I found myself joining TESPA, which is Blizzard's collegiate esports organization, and then soon Blizzard Entertainment itself, which was crazy. Didn't think that would ever happen. And by the time I had graduated from grad school, because I decided to go back and get something in global sports business, I had found myself with an offer from what was at the time NYXL, the Overwatch League team for New York. And now I work for Ambox, who owns and operates both the NYXL as well as the New York Subliners and the Call of Duty League, and Ambox Valorant team, which is New York's Valorant team. So it's been a wild ride. I have no idea how this is all happening. And now I'm a teacher too at UCI. I don't really know. It all happened really, really quick, but it's been an amazing journey for sure.
All right. I'll go last. I'm Tamara Hughes. I'm the Trust and Safety Team Lead at Rec Room. And I actually have a pretty weird path into community management. I actually came into it as a player. I had just been super involved with the games community, did a lot of YouTube stuff, organizing events, being generally helpful. And they actually said, hey, why don't you come and run our social media and organize some of our in-game events? So my educational background is actually completely unrelated. I have a master's degree in physics, which is weird. I don't know why I did that. But yeah, it's been really interesting working in community management and working with such a big, active in-game community in addition to our online community. It's a really interesting job.
That's really cool. Thank all of you for sharing. I guess to just keep it going, what would a normal day look like for you, and what would your position normally be? So I guess, what do you do, and then yeah, and just in a day.
Yeah, so I didn't specify, but I am the associate community manager sorry, that's my dog, for Zuba. So it's a mobile battle royale game. And day to day is just checking the social channels, making sure there's no huge bugs, no major things, just contacting with the community, like going back and forth between them, the developers, and just how the community feels. And a lot of the things we do is also do e-reputation reports on how our community is doing, what we're doing, how that's working, and also just aligning on the content calendar. And yeah, so it's just all the aspects of like editing, writing, like creating the graphics for it. Just pretty much like the communication boss of like the community, and also helping with like the developer side of that.
I know for me, like I'm actually a lot more focused now on the developer side. So we have like a pretty big team that manages like our social media and our forums. I think we have like 40,000 people on our Discord. So it takes a fair bit of people to like sort of keep an eye on all of that. So for me, like a lot of what I'm doing is distilling the feedback that I get from our team and making sure that gets passed on to the dev team. And not just looking at feedback, but looking at like what's upcoming in development and like what are we going to have to talk to the players about, and just making sure that like if there's something that they're not going to like we have our ducks in a row ahead of time, and like the team is aligned on like how to communicate that. So yeah, it's a little bit different for me. I'm mostly in meetings all day, though sometimes I get to do fun stuff. I got to launch a big contest this morning, and look at everybody going nuts on the YouTube comments when we did that. So that was fun.
Those are the best, like giveaways and contests, and like seeing everyone's reaction.
Sure.
Yeah.
For me, at least at Ambox, I have to wear a lot of different hats. We're definitely a bit of a younger organization, especially compared to some of the bigger orgs that you see in esports, like your Team Liquids or your TSM. So I definitely wear a lot of hats, but I would say like as a catch-all, I'm involved with marketing and community. In the community aspect, everything I do is just based around making sure that I'm actively talking to community, hearing what's going on, have my ear to the ground, and I'm able to bring those, insights and those understandings back and give recommendations on what we should do, whether it be, strategy or new projects, new events, things like that. But at the same time, too, on a like more day-to-day kind of thing, I'm involved with all of NYXL social channels. So I help manage all of those, and I make sure that we have everything planned out. And at the same time, because we have 3 different teams, I'm also involved with making sure we're tracking all of our statistics around those socials, as well as analyzing them and trying to figure out, okay, like did this overperform, did it underperform, why did it do that? That's a huge part of my job as well. And of course, there's always other stuff too, because you got to flex support sometimes. So I try to help out with events every now and then. And I also do my best to help out with the partnerships team too, when they're trying to come up with different ideas for activations and things like that. So definitely wear a lot of hats.
Yeah, no, the lot of hats resonates super hard. In a lot of my roles, I have been like the title is social and community manager, or live streaming and community manager when community requires so much attention. In my most recent role at Congregate, I had 4 job titles, 4 game titles at once. And our role in that case was, for example, Discord forums, social strategy, social content creation, dev relations, player relations, live streamer program, just the whole gamut, for 4 games at once, which is super interesting and different every single day. I think, what's been so interesting about that is like you've got sort of the traditional community manager stuff of like making the patch notes, getting feedback from players, the social strategy, like I said. A lot of my day to day was maintaining those community platforms. So our Discords or our forums, training the moderators, and then deciding how we're going to use those spaces well. So it's not enough to have a Discord, but how are you going to engage people on that Discord and get useful information? And then also just being active for 2 reasons. One, to kind of scan for the negatives or the positives to bring back to the team, but then also to build the trust with the players or the community that's there, right? You're a human being. You're not sort of some faceless company logo. And to really kind of be a part of the community and earn their trust. The thing that I do a lot of, I know Adam touched on it a little bit, but I've also kind of ended up by accident picking up our influencer or streamer program. I'm a content creator myself, so it's sort of like, oh, you know how that stuff works. Go work with our streamers.
Heard that one before. Heard that one before.
It's so fun. Like it's what's so interesting in a lot of places, there's not a lot of folks on the team who understand that world. And so we'll be like, hey, let's give the streamers this. And I'll be like, no. That's not going to work. So it's because it's something that I am involved in and care about. It's something that in addition to all the other day-to-day stuff, I'll just sort of like slowly pick up and volunteer for as well. Because especially in games, how you present that forward, you've got your own marketing, but then you've also got all these creators who can be huge assets to you. So I try to make those relationships meaningful and positive for all of them.
So among the many skills it seems you guys need, flexibility is really one of them. But just to get into that more, what are some other skills, both soft and hard, that you guys think are important in your workspace?
I would say for soft, it's definitely time management, communications, general communication skills. Like how can I put out, let's say like this negative message or something that I know the community's not really going to be that happy about in the best way that I can. And it's just making sure that you're able to do that. And with time management, it's like, oh, I have a meeting. Oh, I got to launch this. Oh, I got to do this, that. It's just being able to organize yourself. Like right now I'm using Trello. Like I don't know how I lived before that. And I just like check it out, done. Yes, done for the day. But yeah, it's just getting in that routine of being the associate or like the community manager for that game.
I think one of the things that's important, right? There's the soft skills and there's the hard skills of like, oh, know how to use Trello, know how to use Sprout Social or Creative Suite or whatever it might be that kind of fits into your job. Everyone's going to have a little bit of a different thing. I think you nailed it with sort of being able to write, being able to communicate. I can't think of a single job I've applied for in community that doesn't have a writing sample component to it, right? But one of the things in terms of messaging that you started to touch on, Camille, that I think is so vital is the concept of disaster comms, right? And I know this is so much for those of us who have live ops games that are like, servers are down. Oh no, Discord's on fire. What are we gonna do? Yep.
So much fire.
Camille, I also worked on a mobile battle royale, so I feel your pain immensely.
Which one?
Survive.io. That was one of my Conrate games. It's fun. It's web and mobile. Anyway, it's what would happen is, you know, the page down, you know, splash would go up and Discord would just start popping off. And I think the key in that is not so much, you know, being there and like, yeah, we know it's down, but knowing what to say, what not to say when that negative messaging is coming on, right? We've all seen bad Twitter reactions from companies or bad Discord responses, and it's kind of easy to ID what not to do. But in that vein of building trust, making sure that you're, you know, kind of putting that information out as clearly, as transparently as possible, and not tolerating, you know, the craziness. On a soft skills one for me, empathy, whether it's for your work team or your players, right? We all have lives, we all have stuff going on. But especially like it's one thing to be a great teammate and to kind of have that building with your work team, but also to your community. I think of that scene in Parks and Rec where she's like, when I see this room of people yelling, I think of people loudly caring in my direction, right? Like, and I'm the first person to like not tolerate toxicity at all. I think a lot of community or social folks will like block or ban and move on from a negative comment or like an excessively bad comment. I tend to see that there's a point behind the nastiness. You don't want to tolerate it. You don't want to be okay with being spoken to like that. But usually that's a thing that like keep pulling on that thread and be able to see, I'm getting this nasty, exaggerated, intense response because of something that's really important. How can I dig into what's important to my players or to my community and be able to kind of investigate that? I think that's a fun kind of human psychology exercise to go down as well.
I think Libby did a great job of talking about, you know, your attitude towards your community, which is obviously huge given the topic of this entire panel. But at the same time, I also want to emphasize how important it really is to be a good teammate, and your attitude towards work is absolutely critical, right? So do people actually enjoy working with you, right? Like when they work with you, are you bringing energy to that conversation, or are you completely draining them? And once they're done, they're just like, you know what I mean? Like those are all really, really important things. And do people know that you really, really care, right? That they can see it, right, directly, whether it be through your words and through your actions, right? Can they see the direct impact that you have, right? Like if you're not in a conversation, or let's say you go on vacation, as we all should, are they all saying to themselves like, dang, what would this person say if he was here? I actually feel their presence missing, sort of thing. And of course, do people know that they can always rely on you to get the job done, right? No one wants to work with someone where every single time you give them something to do, or they're assigned something, or they're in charge, whatever it is, that they just miss the mark every single time, right? Everyone wants someone that they know that, hey, you need to do this. They can just go home and feel really good that that person will do everything they can and knock it out of the park. And the last thing is, and this is something that we touched on with the community, but also it's very important for the workplace as well. Are you a good listener, right? When people are telling you what they need, what they want, what they're trying to accomplish, are you able to internalize that? And are you able to be able to communicate back with them that, hey, I did hear you, and that these are the steps I'm going to be taking to make sure that your concerns are met, everything like that. It's all absolutely critical. And as for the other stuff, yeah, like Google Suite, you should probably learn how to use Gmail and Google Sheets. It's pretty important. You should probably learn all the Adobe stuff, because I'm not a graphic designer, but I can't tell you how many times I've had to make a thumbnail for something. So just having some basics in that is super important. Premiere Pro is something that's really good too. At Ambox, we use Asana, which is a great way to kind of project manage things. So just make sure that you have some. You don't need to be the greatest graphic designer of all time, but make sure you have at least have basic knowledge in a lot of these things so that you can flex wherever you need to get the job done.
Yeah, I'm just going to echo like everybody said about communication skills, and it's just so critical in this job. Like if you have that ability to like not just listen to someone and actively listen, but make them feel like they've been heard, like that can solve so much. Like they don't necessarily want a solution to a problem. Like everybody wants a solution, but like being heard at least, and like having that understanding of why something is the way it is just like crucial for dealing with issues. And yeah, like organization, time management, prioritization is another super important skill in this job, just because like when we're onboarding newbies to our team, I tell them like the job never ends. There's always something going on. And you need to be able to like, figure out what's the most important thing and like, what can I leave till tomorrow because my time is up, and you should definitely stop when your time is up for the day. Other soft skills, if you're in like a very social game or multiplayer game, like being comfortable in front of a camera is super important. If you can go and like do the streams, if you can talk in front of crowds of people, like all of those are super important. And the ability to like manage and organize events is really important as well. That can look different depending on what the game is. Like for us, because our game is all multiplayer online, a lot of the stuff that I do is actually like in game, but we also run stuff that's like right now we're having a TikTok contest and other stuff like that. So yeah, those organizational skills are just really important. I use spreadsheets way more than I thought possible in this job. So I just want to say, like, work on your spreadsheet skills, because, oh my God, so many spreadsheets. Yeah, the Adobe and G Suite stuff, important. But I will also say that Urban Dictionary is a professional resource that I rely on, like, constantly, because somebody reports somebody else for a bad name, and I'm like, I don't get it. And then I go to Urban Dictionary, and I'm like, now I can never not know that. Anyways.
Can I add one thing that I didn't think until you said Urban Dictionary?
Yeah.
Basic working knowledge of internet safety. I don't mean to be a downer, but like scariest moment I've seen a coworker go through is when their phone number ended up on a forum. Be really educate like on the game that they've managed forums. Make sure that you're educated in how to protect yourself online beyond the stuff we got in middle school. That was like, don't give anyone your real name, right? Like, look into how to keep yourself safe online, because we talk about doing those negative communications and like, hey, the game's going to be down for an hour, and someone's response is going to be like, I'm going to burn your house down. And you can rest a little bit easier when you know they don't know where your house is. And I don't mean to say that because it can be scary and it can turn people away from community or having a presence online, but do some research, and especially as you sign on to with companies, check in on how they are protecting their staff as well, because when you work in games or in this industry in general, it can get kind of scary to be like Tamara, you mentioned, like, get comfortable on streams, get comfortable in front of crowds. When you are the face of a game or a community, you also need to make sure that you are safe in that context.
Yeah. And we've actually just dealt with this quite a lot with one of our team. He got doxxed, and there's actually fun tip. There's a service you can register for that prevents you from getting swatted, which I cannot remember offhand, but I'm sure if you Google it, it's out there. But that's something that, like, yeah, we've had to know so that we could put him on the list so he doesn't get swatted. So yeah.
I didn't mean to derail, but when you said Urban Dictionary, it kind of came up, and I was like, yeah, I've had that with like banned players, and their name is something you never would have thought of. And then I went, oh yeah. And then when you ban a player, they get real mad. Like, basic, I consider that sort of like internet literacy, right? Urban Dictionary is one component, like knowing what that phrase is that you shouldn't say because it actually means something real dirty. But then there's also the internet literacy component of like, how do I exist online and keep my family safe?
I'm glad you mentioned it.
Thanks.
But yeah, no, I think keeping yourself safe is something that people don't really think about too often when they like just talk in any community at all. I feel like people are very prone to oversharing sometimes and just putting themselves out there just a bit too much. And it's good to just sometimes like stop and just take a look and maybe take a step back. But with hurdles like that, are there any experiences you guys have had within life, working, and education that have kind of given you a lot of foresight, knowledge, just going through these hurdles?
Yeah, I know for me, like, I volunteered a lot prior to working at this job, and like that gave me a ton of skills just for like communications, organization, planning. It gave me experience working with like a huge variety of people, which is really important now that I'm working with a huge variety of people. So that really broadened my perspectives and like gave me it made me relate better to different parts of our community. And then one of the other really good parts about that was that if you learn to manage volunteers and sort of you understand what makes them tick, that makes it easier to find and manage volunteers for your own community. Just because, like, as it grows, like, you may not be able to keep an eye on your Discord by yourself or with your team, but having the ability to manage those volunteers is like really key as your community grows. One other sort of like personal experience that I had is I have 3 kids, all of which are on the autism spectrum. And oh boy, that's given me a real thick skin because nothing offends me anymore because they're brutally honest. So if you know someone with autism, it can train you to just not let anything bother you.
What's the comedy sketch that like comedian, like, it's some comedian's bit that's like, before you name your child, run it by a focus group of 12-year-olds. Like, I feel like that's a similar vibe, right? Like,
Sorry. So to kind of add on to that, I personally, like, internships was like my number one thing. That's the best way for me personally to get into any type of industry. If you know what you want to do, and like in college, like, I had no idea. I started off as exploratory. So I just started kind of accepting internships, just applying. So I was able to just see different aspects of communication and know exactly where I wanted to go. Like, I never knew that I wanted to work into community management, social media, until like I was closer to graduating. So those really helped. And I applied to hundreds and hundreds. Like, I was addicted to LinkedIn. That's my like number one thing. Like, I would literally be like in bed, like applying like every night. Like, and then even if you're reaching out to companies and they aren't giving you any opportunities, then just reach out to like clubs at your university or organizations. And that's definitely an easier way to really get involved without having to like be the only one that got an intern role for them. And then also travel. Like travel is like the huge part of my life. I've been traveling since I was like really young. I've been to over 20 countries, and like that really just being able to meet different people, understanding different people, and just communicating with different people also like helps with my job and how I interact with people. And like now I'm living in like Dublin and just living the life and just being able to meet amazing people. Yeah.
Yeah, I really want to add on to the whole club thing. So that's like, for me, I was born and bred in collegiate esports. And one thing I really want to emphasize is like, learning, or rather I should say understanding how you learn. And for me, the way I learned was just by doing things. The more I did things, the more I got it. Just like, okay, so this is how you actually get it done. And that's part of why my role as being one of the co-founders of Rutgers Esports, and really just kind of building and engaging that community from the beginning, really was something that was really important to me. It was just like this crazy whirlwind of everything happening. I can tell you right now that we had no idea what we were doing most of the time, but it was so much fun. And I always look back on it and from the older me, I'm just like, wow, we were really basically running a startup, right? Except we were all students and we all had no idea what we were doing, but it still gave us so much experience and so much different experiences in these different areas, right? So for example, we had to do events. We also had to do social media. We also had to learn how to talk to the administration. We also had to learn to manage our money. We also learned how to do partnerships and content and all this other stuff. And we might not have mastered any of those things, but for me, being able to learn about each of those and soon just like, okay, so this is what we do here, but this is what it actually looks like in the professional industry. That was key for me in being able to transition over to the actual industry, right? That's the reason why I was able to do that, right? People had recognized that I made an impact at Rutgers, and I only did that because of the team I had. And by the time I had gone over to that industry, I had so much years of experience, right? There are so many times where people could go into the industry and be like, hey, I got like these really good grades and it was awesome. And so can I get this job, right? But at the same time, if you're doing a lot of stuff when you're in a club, you could go to that job application and be like, look, I didn't get the best grades. I got like a 3.0, 3.2, whatever. But I already have 3 years of experience of doing this exact thing that you want me to do at my club. And that's a massive, massive thing. Massive showing them that I already know how to do the job. You don't even need to worry about it. I can get it done. I really encourage every single one of you to take advantage of that. And even beyond that, just the whole collegiate esports experience, doing Rutgers Esports, that was by far the best part of being in college. And I really encourage all of you, while you're still in that phase of your life, live it up every single day and enjoy every single opportunity that's out there.
I love that. And as someone who grew up around Rutgers and a lot of friends went there, definitely lived up. It's quite a time.
100%.
For sure. I think, so I touched on kind of when I was introducing myself that I started in volunteering specifically with content creators. And I don't want to dive too far into that because I've already talked about it a bit. But for me, what that helped was kind of being able to understand the practice of community management with communities in the thousands rather than scaling up to the hundreds of thousands, right? Much like Adam's collegiate experience, or, Tamara talking about volunteering, you start here and then you go, oh, I can prove that I can do this and move forward. For me though, the one I wanted to include as sort of help life experience is not even volunteering. It's a long story, but I will TLDR it. I've been involved in competition robotics since I was a kid. It is like BattleBots, but they play sports instead of destroying each other. But it's actually part of a nonprofit that my family founded. It's called First Robotics for Inspiration and Recognition of Science and Technology. The point is you get high school kids and like industry engineers together and you solve a problem each year. Great, whatever. That's not really the point. The thing for me is that because it was my family's league, essentially, like imagine walking into a room as an Overwatch competitor and saying, oh yeah, my uncle works at Blizzard. My uncle owns Blizzard, right? Like that's kind of the framing that I was coming from. And I was a student participant. I was 16 years old. I was just trying to build robots and win medals. But I was perceived as official. So I would like have a critique of the game or say something. I was like, oh my God, did you see what she said? So I learned how to message to communities because I was tired of getting roasted online. Like, I don't know how to put that in like a formal way. But I was so tired of being under a microscope as a teenager. And I was doing research into how to message to communities, because even if I wasn't actually representing the league, someone thought that what I said was representing the league. And so I was really learning to be careful about what I posted, what I said, you know, all that kind of stuff. But over time, when I got careful about it, I started moderating the forum. I started, you know, when Discord launched, I set up the Discord for First Robotics, right? Like I helped kind of create those spaces because I'd already studied it. Those forums were all volunteer based and just, you know, a horse watching a dog. Like no one knew how to run a forum, but it as a couple of people learned how do you moderate, how do you message, I got to help set those up. So it's sort of volunteer work, but I stumbled into it kind of by accident, and then it didn't come back around until I was in graduate school. Like, oh, all that stuff I learned how to do, that's a job people have. So one, I regret doing it for free for so long, and two, it gave me experience.
That's really cool. We're starting to run low on time, so I just guess for like the last question before we turn it over to Q&A from the audience, if there's just like one or two things you could tell one person who wanted to be a community manager right now, whether it's something you think they should start doing or something they could start looking at themselves, what would it be?
Oh, you're muted. You're muted.
Muted.
So sorry, that's the worst in a Zoom meeting. Oh my God, sorry. So I would say potentially just try and work on a channel, work on your channel, work on someone else's channel, help on Discord, help just be active in a community, and like the associate community manager, the managers will notice you, because I already know a lot of people on our like fan pages that we can recognize, and we know that they're always doing stuff. And then along with that, always having your portfolio and your CV just ready. Make sure that you're on top of that. Take courses, like do anything you can. Just look up example CVs, example of portfolios that people use for community management, because they do test you when you're getting interviewed. Like I had to do a community management like calendar when I was getting interviewed. So just make sure that you're prepared on that and learning everything you can. Yeah, that's it.
All right, so I'm just gonna. Everyone here has way more talent. There's people with actual talent than me. But what I'm gonna go into here is more talk about just life and how that's going to impact you in the workplace, hopefully in community management or whatever you decide to do. The most important thing that I always tell people, because I get questions all the time about how to break into esports or whatever, is you need to figure out who you are and what you want out of your life, right? Not necessarily what your parents want, not what your friends or society wants. Like, what do you want out of your life and what's going to make you happy, right? You don't need to be rich. You don't need to be successful or whatever. You need to be happy. And the only person who can figure that out is you. So spend as much time as you can investing into yourself and figuring out what that thing is, what actually you want to do, and what's going to make you happy. And in that same way too, like we talk a lot about what you should be doing in the workplace, but I encourage all you to find that balance and to do all the stuff that we know that we should do outside of work, right? So go exercise, eat right, get enough sleep, do all those things that we all tell ourselves. And then and then that night we stay up until 3 a.m. watching YouTube videos on our phone. I know we've all been there. I've been there too, but those are all the things that you should be working on to make those really, really good habits. Because life's really too short. So whatever you're doing, just take care of yourself and keep dreaming and chase that person you can't stop thinking about. Check on your friends, do all those things that you should do, and embrace life and all the amazing things that you're going to be able to experience, because before you know it, things are going to go by so quick. So I encourage all of you to really, really focus in on yourself and invest into yourself. And that's going to help you be happy. And by you being happy, you're going to be doing even better in community management or whatever job you choose.
I don't know if I want to go after that one. It's much better than mine, which is like, make sure you're comfortable with spreadsheets and make your portfolio. Seriously though, the portfolio is really handy if this is a career that you want to do. Like, if you have the here's a page of like all the stuff that, like, hey, I ran this big event, like I did this stream, like all that stuff is super helpful to just show them that, yeah, I have the experience doing this kind of stuff. So, yeah. And also what Adam said, because that's much better advice.
No, your advice was great. Don't worry. Go ahead, Libby.
The portfolio is really important. I'm definitely missing stuff on mine that I need to go update now that you talked about it. I think you've all kind of covered it. Again, especially like the idea of just make yourself happy, and if spreadsheets are make you happy, then go do all your spreadsheets. The thing I kind of want to sprinkle in here is just the need to practice boundaries. Adam touched on it too, but we're probably all guilty of checking Discord at 2 a.m, even though we're not at work because it's 2 a.m. And like, oh, it's just one player question. I can do this now and then it'll be easier in the morning, right? That will destroy you over time. Burnout is a very real thing. Be ready to care for yourself when you notice the signs of burnout and set boundaries. The most helpful thing that I hear a lot lately is no is a complete sentence. Obviously at work, you have to be like a little diligent about like, no, and here's a different way we're going to accomplish that goal, not just like, no, right? No, I'm not going to do my job. But the idea of saying, hey, that's something that stream, that special event, that's going to take up a lot of my time on a Saturday. I'm going to be taking a little bit of time off on Thursday afternoon, right? Like the self-care boundary is that you are not your job. Your job can be amazing and fulfilling and wonderful, and it is for so many of us, but you are not your job. You're still a human being. So get comfy with boundaries. You're not a bad person for having boundaries. Be willing to practice them.
Just got to find that balance.
And to kind of bounce off of that into one of the questions one of the viewers have actually asked, how progressive would you say that employer policies are in this space regarding mental health and promoting their physical well-being?
I'll start out really quickly. Like my company, Wildlife Studios, has been amazing with like working from home and everything. Like they go out of their way for their employees, which I obviously enjoy. And they have the free gym. They have like the mental wellness, like checkups that you can do. They even have like, you can do marathon challenges. And if you complete them, they'll give you stuff. So they're really into knowing that you're being healthy, like during work and also outside of work, because they know if you're not doing well mentally, you're not doing well just physically and just who you are, then you're not going to be performing as well as you can. So yeah, so far, like this is my first time in the gaming industry, and it has been more progressive than like the other industry that I've been in, or from what I've seen.
Yeah, I know like burnout can definitely be a big thing. And like one thing I love about where I work is like the upper management is always saying like, we don't do burnout. Like if you are feeling crispy, you need to let your leads know and you need to take time off. And yeah, I'm actually surprised they did not like lock me out of Slack last week when I was taking that time off that I needed. But no, they're really good about like, there's a so-called safety valve crew that you can talk to about anything that is bothering you about work. And when we have had those incidents about like some of our staff being doxxed or anything like that, like they've made sure like we have a safe place to stay. And like just make sure that we get the resources we need to get through some of those incidents. So
yeah, I would back that as well. I'm sure there are places who don't support everyone's got their own policies. My experiences have always been fantastic. I've had employers who were at events where things happened and I was supported, all that kind of stuff. I've also my most recent role at Kyrie, like our health insurance covered counseling, and they were like, yeah, community managers, support team, people who are abuse facing, please use it. Like it's okay. And I like one of the support actually leads that is a friend and I admire her so much, literally would like make a point in sort of the community staff chat that was like our meme, can I swear, our poop posting channel for staff would be like, all right guys, I'm out early today, I'm going to therapy, and like just very like normalizing that in the workspace is like, I need to do this. But we also from a company policies, gyms, counseling, but also when I had a player of one of our titles create a 2.5-hour documentary about me and how terrible I am at community management. If anyone would like to watch that, I'll bake the popcorn. All the things I was bad at, by the way, were not allowing racism in the Discord and, it's the standard stuff. How dare I, honestly. But what was great is our company's legal team was like, we got this. we're not going to let this stay online. This is because it had my face, it had my name, it had where I live, it had what I do for fun outside of work, right? She coaches robotics. Look at all this amazing stuff about her. And legal was like, absolutely not. This is going to come down. And it was down instantly. I still have a copy because sometimes you just got to watch movies about how bad you are.
I actually
there
don't
was
have
a
too
YouTube
much to
video
add.
that came out with my name in it that was like just totally slamming. It's this like tiny child that I put on a kid's account because he was a tiny child. But that like it still cheers me up to this day when I go watch that because it's still on YouTube and I'm just like, he's like freaking out about me and I'm just like, it makes me laugh. It's really funny.
What were you saying, Adam? Sorry.
No, I was just gonna say I don't have too much to add. All of you pretty much hit the nail on the head.
All right, I think that's it for time, actually. Oh,
man.
I guess
Bye
time
so
is-
quick.
Any
It was
closing
great chatting
statements
with
you want to
This
make?
has been a blast.
Closing statements.
I don't know, anything you want to throw out there? Any positive advice?
It's a super fun job. It's just it like I sort of, I say like, it never ends and like there's like abuse and stuff, but it's actually a super fun job. I really love it.
I'll add that to that too. Like I love it. I love talking to people. I love helping people. I love helping players. And I love being able to connect with a game and really just be a part of that game. So yeah, if you like gaming, obviously, as you're here, 100% go for it. Like if this is what you want to do and you're taking the time to be in this like conference meeting, then you 100% should go for it.
For sure. I think you know, like you really feel like a part of that community, that voice, all that, really beautiful stuff of bringing people together. When you think about it, you might be writing patch notes or figuring out social copy, but you're also bringing people together. And what better role could you have in this crazy online 2021 world?
Absolutely. I think community management's awesome. All right, go ahead, Andrew. Sorry.
All right, I guess I'll close it here. This has been the Community Management Panel. I am Andre Smith. Thank you all for being here. You've been amazing. You've been great. I hope everyone watching also continues to enjoy the Waffle Games 4.0. Have a lovely evening.